Kevin Bailey, live at 3061 North, 1000 West in Pleasant. Several weeks ago, first let me just say it's a pleasure to be here, a pleasure to address you, Mr. Mayor, and Council. With that brown nosing behind me, I'll go ahead and say what I'll say. Several weeks ago, I was approached by the Director of Recreation, whatever, in North Ogden City, and asked to come to a planning meeting for Cherry Days. My wife and I attended that meeting, and while we were there, a discussion took place that I kind of led in, and we were talking budgets relative to how much, and this is a North Ogden thing, we got talking about how much money they spend on Cherry Days, and the need this year to try to utilize some citizens groups rather than city employees. And I know that we, likewise, here in Pleasant View, utilize our city employees during that celebration of Founders Day, and we can't do that without having run into some overtime situations for them. They spend a lot of hours, and it's, you know, they are thankless hours for them, but citizens really do appreciate everything they do. During the course of that meeting with North Ogden City, I suggested that since Founders Day, I've got to see who's going to lynch me here. During Founders Day, which is always historically held like a week before the 4th of July, Pleasant View City has their own little Founders Day shebang, and it costs us a lot of money. We spend a boatload of money, and we have people go out and get donations, and we do very similar things that the same as North Ogden does for Cherry Days. It's turned into quite a competition over the years to see who has the best fireworks. It's been kind of fun. I made the suggestion that rather than have a Founders Day and a Cherries Day, that we together, we'll use the word from a phrase from Ronald Reagan and say, Mayor Clifford, it's time we break down that wall. Economically, it's time as a city, as both cities, to tighten our belts. It's tough, and times are tough, and our tax base isn't what we wished it was. We spend a boatload of money on Founders Day, and they do on Cherry Days. And I made the suggestion that we join the two activities together into one Independence Day celebration. And rather than have a Founders Day per se and a Cherries Day, they actually suggested we change the name of it to something of mutual agreement. I've met with their city council. They're very supportive of this idea. And so I approached the city council tonight with that idea, kind of just more or less poking my toe in the water to see if I get booed and lynched. But I want you to think of it economically. The citizens of our community pay for this. You know, we're the ones that burden the financial costs of Founders Day. And I don't think you'd see a whole bunch change except that there would be one parade. I think that would really be the only difference, and one set of fireworks. And I know that North Ogden's budget has been cut this year. They've had to trim their budget on their fireworks specifically. And I know times are tough here as well. And so I would like the city council to highly consider the advantages of having a single celebration aimed at celebrating Independence Day. We have in Pleasant View the Salmon Bake, which is a tradition that few would want to give up. North Ogden doesn't want us to give it up either, by the way, because they come to our stuff and we go to theirs. It's a celebration each one week after the other that both communities go to, and economically it makes sense. It's kind of time to do that, and I throw the idea out. Mayor Clifford and Mayor Harris is going to call you tomorrow.
Good.
And
when did you talk to North Ogden?
Well, I actually was in their planning meeting for Cherry Days last week.
Oh, okay.
And then I was at their council meeting earlier.
Oh, I saw Mayor Harris the other day, didn't mention it, but you may have not got to him yet.
He was there at our planning meeting, and he knew about it, but he knew that I hadn't talked to you yet, or the council, so he was probably wise in not saying anything. That was a meeting that was like, what North Ogden did this year, and in addition to what I've already said, let me just say this. Ogden Pioneer Days does everything they do in Ogden City by volunteer groups. They have citizens groups, citizens committees that do everything from the rodeo to the parade. I mean, everything that happens that week is done by citizens groups. Now, there are city employees involved that get paid, but very few, because it's done by volunteer. I was on the rodeo committee last year, and so I know what it takes, and I know the involvement from citizens groups. And I've also suggested to North Ogden that they do the same thing. If we decided to do a single celebration, I would highly suggest that we use citizens groups to take care of the parade, to take care of the salmon bake. The logistics and stuff, if we decided to do this, could be worked out. You know, the salmon bake may not be able to be held where it's held. The patriotic fireside that we historically have probably wouldn't be in an LDS church. It may be in the Barker Park amphitheater. I think how cool that would be to have thousands of people there and have a speaker. It'd be pretty cool, instead of the 45 that we get at the fireside. It'd be a lot, and that's a non-denominational thing anyway, so it'd be pretty cool. And we could put together, with the citizens group involved, we could make every single thing bigger and better than it is now, and enjoyed by both communities. So, something to think about. I left there asking for a feel for what they thought. It would take a citizens group to melt the two celebrations together and decide what we were and weren't going to do. But this is a place to start. And it's time to figure out our budgets, which is, you know, if you haven't already, and you may have already, I don't know, but it's time to start thinking about that kind of thing. We still have plenty of time to pull a trigger if we decided to do it this year. I'd be glad to be part of or head a citizens group that melts the two together, since it was my big mouth that started this.
I was waiting for the offer.
Well, I already got ticketed for that down the road, so. And I don't mind doing that at all. I'd really like to see something, but the key would be to make it bigger and better first year. If we melted the two together and it was a flop, well, you guys would never get reelected. Not that any of you want to. But the city, the people in the city offices would have to brace themselves. I've had several nasty phone calls, and it wasn't even a public meeting. It was just a planning meeting, and it was some elderly people from the community that had heard what I'd said, and they were like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I said, "Did you come to Founders Day last year? I don't remember seeing you there." "Well, no, I wasn't there, but I still, you can't change tradition." So, economically, it's time, though. You know, times are tough. We had one big celebration, one grandiose fireworks thing that we both share in the cost of. If we were to proportion it relative to the number of citizens we had, and both cities participate that way.
You know, we probably don't have time to totally talk about this evening, Kevin. It'd be nice to perhaps, you know, grab you for a few minutes after we maybe talk to Mayor Harrison and kind of listen to what they have proposed. I'd like to see if there's some, I'm just thinking off my head now, it'd be nice if you still had, you'd like to solve everyone's problem here, right? So you got a financial issue.
That's not a problem.